Fleetwood at the moment. And Scott, I just want to start off by asking you about the competitive nature of League One. Obviously, we've seen Sheffield Wednesday and Ipswich go up. They've been so close in the past number of years, two big, massive clubs. But likewise, Wigan and Reading have come down. Has it almost sort of balanced itself out? Do you think it's just as competitive as what it was last year in terms of this year? Or do you think it's even a bit more competitive, the division this year?
I think everybody fancies a chance on Saturday. And that's one good thing about this Football League. Anybody can beat anybody at any time. And we've shown that in the past. Other teams have shown that in the past as well. You can go away from home, you end up beating Ipswich, you end up beating a Reading or whoever it is. And we've punched above our weight last season. But that's the beauty of this league. You've got two big teams that have went up, and you've got three big teams that went up, and three big teams that have come down. So it's always going to be a competitive league. And the teams that come up are obviously fighting just to stay in the league the first year and then push on from there. And there's no easy games, no matter what. Every team's well organised. We've got good players, and it's just more about the desire on the day.
I suppose, Scott, you came from a Glasgow Celtic sort of culture where there was a good lot of Scottish players, there was a good lot of Irish players, there was a good sort of harmony and chemistry between them. And I just noticed there, looking at the Fleetwood panel, that we have something similar. We have a few Scottish players, we have a few Irish players as well. And how do you feel that is important as well, to have that dynamic and that sort of connection? And
English as well in there.
Huh?
We've got a few English in there as well.
A few English as well, yeah, no doubt. A few English as well, very much so. But I'm just wondering, Scott, in terms of that, in terms of your shopping and the shopping that Fleetwood have done, do you see the League of Ireland as a good shopping ground? I know you brought in Ryan, and I'm just noticing a few players have come to Fleetwood Town the last year or two from League of Ireland.
Yeah, Ireland's a big league for us, and we've got a sister club over in Ireland as well that we keep in touch with quite a lot. So no, for us, Irish lads have came over and they've done really well, and I think there's maybe 4 or 5 now that's came over recently, and they've all been involved in possibly getting a lot of minutes as well. So for us, it's important that they know their jobs, that they're switched on as well, and it helps that we've managed to bring Ryan in early doors. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
He gets an understanding of what we expect and how we play and what the culture is round about the club. And the main thing is you've got to be a good person. You've got to want to improve. And we need to try and improve all these lads, make them better. And we are a selling club. We want to sell the lads up to the Championship or the Premier League if we possibly can. So our job is to make them better, but also make Fleetwood better.
And you mentioned about making Fleetwood better, and as terms of a manager, and we look at what Plymouth have done as being exceptional. Do you see them as a sort of a case study in terms of a short-term, maybe long-term sort of goal plan in terms of Fleetwood? Do you have, obviously you come in, you have ambitions, maybe short-term, long-term in terms of the project. Are you thinking now maybe that it's the next step after last year to bring Fleetwood?
We definitely don't look at the other club. We take ourselves and we just worry about us. We don't think there's been some fantastic clubs down here, and Plymouth were a fantastic club, and the manager and the players have done a great job. But we only worry about ourselves. And if you start worrying about other clubs and trying to look like other clubs, then you end up losing a lot about what we built up on the culture of the club as well. So I think the main thing is that we know what we are. We are a community-based club that try and bring young players through, and from that we want to play entertaining football, but at the same time we want to push ourselves as far as we possibly can.
Yeah, and I suppose, Scott, just touching the opening game of the season, I suppose that draw at Carlisle, I suppose when you come away from that, when you had 13 shots and you dominated the ball, you had 59% of possession, is there almost a bit of sort of edge and disappointment? I know going to Carlisle is a tough place to go to get a result, but still when you have 59% of the ball and you have 13 shots on target, is there almost a manager thinking we should have gotten more than one goal?
Yeah, that's the thing. We've always been wanting to be more ruthless in front of goal. And at the same time, we could have lost a goal late on with Joe Gardner coming on. But for us, I was quite impressed with the lads' performance throughout the game. As you say, we've dictated a lot of play, we've had possession, we've locked teams in. but we just have to have that more ruthless streak in front of goal. And when it's there, put in the back of the net and take credit for it, and want to be that guy that to score the goal, go and celebrate with the fans.
And can I just ask about Promise Machero? There's a good lot of excitement about this youngster here in Ireland as well, in terms of what he's developing. Where do you think he needs to develop? He's still very young. He's still probably a bit raw. Where do you think he needs to maybe improve his game, maybe to go to the next level?
Yeah, he works hard. He's a great lad about the place. He's always got a smile on his face, and I think he just has to believe in his own ability a little bit more and put faith in it and want to go and score a goal, because he's a great person about the place. He's got good link-up play. He can run channels. He can hold the ball in, but he needs to make sure he does that continuously. And the bids will come for Promise. I do believe that. And what I've seen so far in the season that he's had with us, he can definitely push on.
And I suppose second last question for me, Scott. You mentioned earlier you were talking about the transfer market, and you're talking about maybe leaving to the last windows if an exceptional talent comes up, a young talent. Is that almost the domino effect, where you're sort of waiting for clubs maybe in the division above you, maybe to make the sort of movements in terms of players in and player out? What we're seeing at Southampton and Leeds at the moment, where they're waiting to see if players come or stay before they let other players down the line maybe go out. Is that what you're sort of waiting to see on that movement in terms of maybe top tier championship clubs, to see if their top guys stay, and that means that they will release one or two of their younger talents?
Yeah, it goes throughout the whole Football League as well. Teams in League One will be doing the exact same, and they'll be holding on to their better players and the younger ones to go out there, maybe pushing the squad to go out and get some experience. But that's football. Sometimes we've got to wait. Sometimes we make a decision to go and sign somebody early. Sometimes you might regret not waiting, but at the same time, you have them 4 or 5 weeks earlier. They get an understanding of how you want to play, your philosophy, and they're about the lads for that extra 4 or 5 weeks. So they get an understanding of the culture of the club.
And finally, from me to you, Scott, in terms of your philosophy, in terms of how you like to play football, in terms of your teams, do you like to play a possession style-based game, or do you like to play a sort of fast-flowing, sort of tempos type of football? What do you like your teams, the Scott Brown teams, to look like on a field?
A little bit of both. We want to be possession-based. We want to control the game by all means. We want to speed the play up. You will have great tempo higher up the park, link up play, but at the same time, you've got to want to go and win that ball back. We've got to be ruthless in front of goal, and when we do lose the ball, we get after it in 3s and 4s, not in 1s and 2s.
Yeah. Cheers. Thanks, Scott Brown. A pleasure for joining us today.
Cheers, lads.
Cheers, Scott. Cheers.
Cheers, thank you. Cheers.